Well, looking at our code, we've got our add functionality all in place here. I'm starting at the top of our form class and scrolling down. Again, we haven't used our file items yet. We've implemented our exit. We're working on our add new, and we noticed that we were starting to create a lot of duplicate code here with this clear and enabling and disabling these different items on our form. So I think we should take this moment to kind of clean things up a little bit. The first thing that I'd like to do is copy all of this, just this part here that has to do with our form fields. I'm going to copy it. And at the end of this method here, I'll add a new method. The first thing that I'd like to do is clear our form. So the items that would be in there would be these, to just clear everything. All right, now that should clear out all of those different items. So let's add a call to that here in our method. So then I can eliminate those, but let's go ahead and create our next method also. And this will be our enable disable. And I'm going to get rid of all of the clear statements out of this. And I believe what I need to do here is pass in the status. And then let's use our status. Great, now we're all set. So now I'm going to set up a call to that. We have our clear form call. Come on, keyboard. And now we're going to call our enable disable method. And for this time, we want to pass in true, right? So that's what all this code was doing. Okay, so now I can get rid of all of this stuff. Much better, much cleaner. I've replaced it with some methods. Now, when we're done executing our methods to clear out our text fields, we're going to set our focus at our name and put the text value or the message in to prompt our user to enter the data. Let's go ahead and run this and make sure this didn't change any functionality. I'm going to add new. Looks like it works all right. Great. Okay, so we've created two new methods here, our enable, disable. And our clear form. Now, if we were to have to add additional fields to our form, we would just have to add them to these methods instead of adding them all over the place like it was getting to be, huh? This one I'll put clear the form, clear our properties fields. Great. Now, it looks like there's another place here where we need to run that. We need to run our enable, disable. In our update. Getting a little ahead, aren't I? Here's where we have some spots. In this example down here, I'm looking at our add to list method. And again, we're clearing things out and enabling and disabling. So I'm going to use our clear form method and our enable disable method, passing in a false. That should let me clear all of this code out. Much cleaner. Got everything much prettier that way. So here's our add to list method that we call from our OK button. To review, we set up a new load, we add data to it, then we add it to our list box, and then we're setting our list index to an invalid value. I'm just going to set it to -1, showing that there is no item selected. I'm just going to create a terrible loop there, and I'm going to leave that -99. Let's think about it. If somebody clicks OK, if our list index equals -1, we want to run this add to list, and then we want to display our list box again. So I'll just leave it at -99. Everything's working good. Now, one piece of code that I did have in here that we'll take a look at is the update. Let's get to it. I got a little bit ahead of you, so I will let you get caught up there. Let's do it. First thing in our update method is that we're going to allow our user to click on an item here in this list box. When they click on an item, we'd like to display that information over here in our list box. Let's set that up. I'm going to look at my list box loads and look at the events I have. I do have a click event, so I think that that's the one that I'd like to try putting this with. List box loads underscore click. Now let's test this and update our message. Just a little testing for us. Let's run this, and I want to see how this event fires. What if I just click? Oh, yep, look, I didn't have to have an item there. So that click may not be exactly what we want. Let's see what else we could try. I'll get rid of that. And then I'm going to go to the error that generates and delete that line of code. Go back to my form, and I'll just double click so that we can determine what the default event is for a list box. And when it's selected, index changed. Well, that makes sense. That means that the index value has been changed by clicking on a new index value. Let's do the same thing with our message label. I'll run this. Now, if I simply click, notice it's not firing our event. I'll have to add some data. Now, if I click on that, I do get the clicked it message, and I did just single click, so that's fine. That's the way we want things to work. So if we do get that response, we're going to load up these text boxes. So first of all, we know that they've changed their index. So let's update our index value. To use the selected index that they just picked. We'll save that in our class variable. Now I'd like to create an instance of a load that we could use to hold this data from the text box or from our list box to use for our update and then pass back into our list box. We have it set up as a load. Let's make that into a class level variable because it's going to be something that we'll be able to use quite a bit. So it's going to be an instance of a load, and I want to call it, how about our load instance? We'll just declare it. We don't have to actually instantiate an instance of our load until we're ready. Now we did create a load instance in our add process. This one will be a little different, right? So for our load instance, we can set that equal to our selected item. We're going to use listboxloads.items, and then we're going to use our index as a pointer into that list. Now that's going to give us a load back because everything that we put into our list box was a load object, but the compiler is not aware of that. So we're going to have to cast that as a load, and then everything should be fine. So now we're saying, oh, grab that index that they selected and pull out that data about that load. Now, when we go ahead and display this data on the screen, we're going to be updating our text boxes. So let's start out with our name. I'm going to set that equal to our load instance name, our text box location is also a string, so I'll do it. Then we have our other variables here. For our weights, our weight in labs, we're going to have to convert that to a string to display in that text box. And we'll do the same thing with our ounces. Whoops. Tap, and then, so it'll be our load instance, our weight in ounces, and our toString. Now, the only other data field that we need to get at this point is going to be the gravel type, and we set up all that stuff to use that. Let's see if we can set our text box. Oh, it's a combo box, wasn't it? Now, our type of gravel is a char data type. I'm just going to go ahead and convert that to a string. That's going to leave me a to-do item to get that information converted using our enum to go back in the other direction. So I'll put that there. Not the end of the world here, because I just want to see if this is going to work. Now, after we have all this data put into our text boxes, we want to make sure that they're still disabled, right? So I want to set them all to false. That should display our data on the screen. Let's test it. First of all, I need to add a row. And I see everything's cleared out. So now if I click on this item, sure enough, I see it over here, ready to be updated. Awesome. So now that it's sitting here, what we would expect to do is update our message here, because that looks bad. But also, if our user clicks Update Load, we want to enable all of these text boxes and put our cursor at the name field ready to update it. Let's do those changes. All right, so after this line of code, I'm going to update our message. Great. Now, whenever they want to update, we said we were going to run this method called update. I've got it around here somewhere. I'm looking for it. Here it is. So this is when they click the button to update. So we're going to allow them to update it. It looks like in our enable disable operation, we need to set everything to true, that it's enabled. So I have been practicing a little bit. I haven't done that, but I can end up with much smaller code than that, which is always what we're shooting for. So in our update method right now, I am setting our message, allowing them to update, enabling all of our property fields, and then setting our focus on the text box. Let's run it. And if I select an item, here's my load information is displayed. Now if I click update, I am here ready to update this information. So I'm going to type my new information and click OK. So I need my OK method to be aware of this. So I'm having a hard time finding it. Just going to double click on that button, take me to it. We already have this set to say if the list index is -1, we're going to run our add to list method. Well, we know our list index is not -1 because we have displayed an item on our form, and we have set up all of the fields to be enabled and allow our user to change whatever they want. So we need to update the list. This is a method that we're going to create ourselves. We'll just put it right here. In our update list method, we want to replace the values that we have, right? So let's think about it. We've got all these text box values, And we want to take those and put those into our instance of a load that we created. So right here is that code where when they clicked on one, we said, oh, okay, well we're going to pull that out of that load and give you that information. So I'm just going to copy this. And paste it. And then I'm going to reverse things. So I want to, instead of updating the text field, I want to update our class instance field. Just clean that up a little bit, just kind of turn everything around. Now here's one that's going to be a little different, right? So we'll use it as an example. For our load instance, our weight pounds, we need to set that equal to our text box pounds dot text, but we wanted to convert that to an integer, right? And again, we know it's safe because we have that code associated with our text box that won't let any non-integer data be entered. All right, and then I want to do the same thing with my weight in ounces. Feels real familiar, doesn't it? Doesn't feel like we have this code somewhere. We don't exactly. We have almost the same thing when we did our add method. We might at some point see if we could combine those two. Okay, looks good. And then the last thing that I have is our combo box. And let's see, we had something to do that. Type of gravel. So we can run our method there that we already have set. Now, when we look at our update list code here, we're saying I'm creating this class instance. Well, I'm just using one that's already been created for me. And I'm going to take that class instance and update it with all of the values that the user has typed in the text boxes. They might be the same values as they were before. They might be new. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just going to replace them all in that class. Now, in our list box, we know that from our items, we have extracted based on our list index, this load. So now we should be able to just say, well, let's update it to be this new load instance. That seems easy enough, doesn't it? Let's try it. Oops, no, where did I leave something off? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to add and click on it, and now I want to update. Yay. Joe's. Oh, it crashed. Was what does it say? Oh, it's our type of gravel thing. It says that the selected item is null in our combo box. Let's try that again. Now I know why this is, because we don't have that quite handled properly. Gotta leave some things for you, huh? Okay, I'm going to click on it. Now I'm going to go ahead and choose Update, and I'm going to select a valid gravel type again so that it doesn't crash there. And OK. And now it crashed someplace else. What have we got? It says, oh, you have an invalid value on your index. Value of -1 is not valid. So for some reason, this is running, look, this is running our selected index changed method again when we try to update that item in the list. So we're accidentally shooting off this action event again. So what could we do to prevent that? I'm going to stop running and look at that. Well, I think that I could say if our list index if our list index is less than 0, then we know that we set it to -1 or -99. So let's use that. We'll see if that'll work for us. So if our list index is less than 0, then we want to set up this update. Otherwise, we don't. Is that correct? Let's see. Let's run it. We don't have to worry too much about test data at this point, do we? It's still hard sometimes to not try to type in realistic things. Okay, so we've got something added. Now if I click on it, yay, we see it the way we wanted to. Now, if we click our Update button or Edit Update, we want these fields to open up for us to make changes. There they are. I'm going to pick another good item. And my data was updated. So it looks like that little if statement took care of our problem, that we only want to run that selected index changed if we're in the mode where we're just displaying data and somebody actually clicked on our list. So I might be able to find another way to handle that problem, but I think that took care of it for us. Let's review. We added a new event procedure for our list box for if somebody chooses an item. Chosen item is displayed in properties area. So that is our new method there to take care of that. Then if somebody clicks on the update button, we are setting our update text to update, enabling our fields and setting our focus on our text box. When they click OK, our list index now will be a value greater than 0 or 0 because it'll be the item that was clicked on. So we'll run our update list method. Now our new update list method is pretty concise. It's very effective. It takes the data from the text boxes on the screen and it puts them into our current load instance, updates the row in our list with that load instance, and then says our load data was updated. Let's put a comment there. And then our add to list, I'll go ahead and comment. Okay, so we have some different pieces of code here that we've put together. This uses our enum here, our gravel types enum, to decide what long word we have here. I don't know about this thing, whether that's working very well or not. We'll see. Use the enum to determine the long name of the item selected. Probably could have just got that from our list, huh? Now, I wanted to look at that enum real quick, though. The last method here that we don't have, oops, that's this one. Got the wrong comment in the wrong place, didn't I? So, wait key press, make it impossible to enter non-numeric data. That's associated, if you remember, with both of our text boxes that are going to have numeric data input. Now I'd like to use some way to organize our code here a little bit. It's getting a little unwieldy and long, so let's take a look. We know that we can use these region statements to kind of group things. I think that I would like to do that. I'm going to come down here and right here after my constructor, I'm going to put in # region, and I'm going to say this area is our file maintenance methods. And then I'm going to go down quite a ways past those file maintenance methods. Here they are. And put our end region, and on our end region, we'll say end file maintenance. Now, as we continue on, we have our exit app, add new, enable disable. So we have a lot of kind of mixed up methods that aren't really associated with any items on our form. So I feel like I could do some rearranging and maybe organize things a little bit better, but I don't want to leave people behind and cause a big commotion. So I think I'll just leave everything in the order that it is. Do remember that you can collapse down your methods. So I can collapse down my comment block, and I can collapse down my method header so that I can make my code a little bit easier to navigate if I like. Okay, so some of these methods that we may not need to use, we could collapse and get them out of our way. Take this time to get your code organized, do some testing, and let's get things all fixed up the way you like it. Thank you.